Hey everyone, welcome back to class. Johnny B here with devslopes.com, and in this lesson we are going to get our project all set up, alright? We are going to create our Firebase project. We are going to import some assets. We're going to add our Cocoa pods, and yeah, so let's get to it. I got myself a brand new project here. Just go to File, New Project, okay? And we are going to be working with an iOS single view app. So go ahead and say Next. And go ahead and put in our product name. I'm going to call mine random, RNDM, because that's the cool thing to do these days is just get rid of all those vowels, right? All right, so we got random, and put in your team, organization name, your identifier. You're going to do com.johnnyb, and languages, of course, Swift, and you can leave these unchecked. I'm going to say next. And I'm going to put mine right here on the desktop, and I'm going to create a Git repository. I'm going to say create. All right, here we are. Now, right off the bat, I'm going to go ahead and uncheck landscape left and landscape right because we're just going to be working with portrait mode here. And I'm going to change devices to iPhone. All right, we're just going to simplify things a little bit here, and we're going to put these constraints on it. Alrighty, so we got our brand new project here. Now let's go ahead and get ready to use Firebase with it, all right? So I'm going to open up a browser here, Safari. And if you just go to firebase.google.com and then go to sign in, and you can sign in with any of your Google accounts, and you will already be able to start using Firebase. Okay, so here I am signed in, and you'll see something like this on your console. This is at console.firebase.google.com. All right, so it says, welcome to Firebase, tools from Google for developing great apps, engaging with your users, and earning more through mobile ads. All right, so there is so much that Firebase offers. There are so many tools. What we're going to be working with, of course, in this app is Firestore, all right? So let's go ahead and add a project. So I'm going to say add project, and we're going to give it a project name. I'm going to say RNDM, and that's all good. So I'm going to say create project. Alrighty, so here we are in our dashboard here, and we got a whole bunch of stuff here. We have different tools like authentication, database, storage, hosting, functions, test lab, whole ton of stuff. And all of these right here, analytics, authentication, wow, so much stuff. We're going to be working with, like I said, Firestore. But first we need to add Firebase to our app, all right? So let's go ahead and click right here on the iOS, since that's what we're working with right now. And we need our iOS bundle ID, all right? So let's go ahead and jump back into Xcode here. And I'm going to copy our bundle ID right here. Then I'm going to jump back into Safari and just paste it right here. Then we can give it an app nickname, which is optional. I'm just going to say RNDM. And App Store ID is optional as well. I'm just going to leave that as is. And I'm going to say register app. Okay, so now we're going to get a Google service-info.plist, all right? And this is going to have a whole bunch of information that is specific to our Firebase account and app, all right? So I'm going to say download, all right? And that has downloaded, so I'm just going to jump back into Xcode and then open my downloads folder here. And just going to bring that over here. And you just grab it and drag it right on in, okay? And then say copy items if needed, create folder references, and make sure you have add to targets checked. All right, I'm going to say finish. Now, before I forget, I'm currently at the time of this recording in Xcode 9, and there is a bug here that if you click on the file that we have added, Google service-info.plist, and you click right here on the file inspector, more often than not, the target membership is unchecked. Meaning that even though we said to add it to targets when we imported it, it did not do it. So you need to make sure that this is checked. So I'm just going to check that right there, all right? All right, so now I'm going to jump back into Safari. We have completed this step, so I'm going to say continue. All right, so now we need to add the Firebase SDKs, the software development kits, to our Xcode project. And we're going to do this using Cocoa pods, all right? So we're just going to follow the instructions here. We're going to create a pod file, then we're going to add Firebase core, and then we're going to save the file and run. We're actually also going to add Firebase Firestore as well, okay? So let's go ahead and do this. I'm going to open up my terminal here, and I'm going to bump up the size here for you guys to be able to see it easier. and we're just going to cd to the desktop. So I'm going to say cd desktop, and then we want random here, okay? And then I'm going to say pod init right there. Okay, so now if we go to our folder here on the desktop, see here random, that's our project. And now we have a pod file here, right? So if you haven't used CocoaPods before, check out some of our other courses where we go into depth on CocoaPods. Basically, it's a plugin. It's an addition to your code that you can kind of just add right onto your project and use a whole bunch of awesome functionality that you can get out of it, all right? So to add them, we need to edit our pod file and tell our project which CocoaPods, which plugins we want to add to our project, okay? So I'm going to right click on pod file, and you can open it with whatever your favorite code editor is, like Atom or Sublime, but not like Microsoft Word or Pages or something like that. It needs to be a code editor. All right, so I've just opened it up, and I'm going to drag it over here. And we're going to uncomment this right here, make sure that it has platform iOS 9.0 or above. And then here under pods for random, we are going to just say pod and then single quote, and we're going to say Firebase /core. Then we're going to say pod single quote Firebase /Firestore. Okay. So those are the two pods that we want to install in our project. All right, so I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to open terminal backup, and I'm going to say pod install. All right, so this is going to take just a minute, and I'll be back once we have finished installing these CocoaPods. Alrighty, so our CocoaPods have finished installing. So now let's go back to Xcode, and we need to close this. Once you have installed CocoaPods, you no longer work in the .project, we work in our xc.workspace, okay? So I'm gonna get back to our desktop, and if we open up our project folder here, now you'll see that we were in the random.xcode project, this blue icon, but now once we have installed CocoaPods, we always work in the white.xc workspace, okay? So I'm gonna double click that and just open that up over here. Alrighty, so let's take a look at our project. So now you'll see here that we have a folder called pods. All right, and we have under here frameworks and pods. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of awesome Firebase functionality right at our fingertips that we can now use just by adding in these CocoaPods. All right, so that is pretty sweet. So let's jump back into Safari and see where we are in our process here, all right? So we have added our Firebase SDK, so that's good. So now we can say continue, and now we need to add some initialization code, all right? So here in the app delegate, we are going to say import Firebase, and then we're going to say Firebase app.configure, okay? And all this is gonna do is just initialize our app to be ready to use Firebase. So I'm gonna copy this bit of code right here, the Firebase app.configure, and we're going to say finish. And then I'm going to jump back into Xcode. Okay, and I'm going to come over here to our project and find your app-delegate.swift file. And here under the imports, we're going to say import Firebase. And then right here under the did finish launching with options, we are going to paste what we had from our setup wizard, which is Firebase app.configure. And that is it. We are about ready to start using Firebase. Let's go ahead and build this. Just make sure that it builds properly. All right, awesome. So we have a successful build, so things are looking good. All right, the last thing that I want to do is add some of the assets that we are going to be using throughout this project, okay? So let's go ahead and open up our assets.xc assets folder right here. And then, as part of this project, in either the previous lesson or the one before that, you can download some of the assets. Okay, so here on the desktop, I have our assets. Okay, so I'm going to open it up. All right, that looks good. And you'll have a couple of folders here. We have our app icon assets and then our assets right here. So go ahead and open up the assets folder and just select all of those and drag them in. Okay, that looks good. And then select our app icon right here. And then I'm going to go back to our Finder window and go back and go to our app icon assets. And I'm going to go ahead and add in our iPhone icons, okay? I'm not going to worry about the iPad settings or the App Store or anything like that. You have all of those at your disposal if you want to add them. But right now I'm just going to add the iPhone ones because that's what's going to be most important to us when we are viewing them in the simulator. All right, so we want the 20 point, 2, and 3x. Okay, so 20 point at 2x, 20 point at 3x. 2x at 29, so 29 at 2x and 29 at 3x. And then 40 point at 2 and 3x, so there's the 2 and there's the 3. And then 60 point at 2 and 3x. So 60 point at 2 and 60 point at 3. All right, very nice. All right, so let's go ahead and run this and just see how it's looking so far, make sure everything's running well. Alrighty, so we got it up and running. It's just a blank screen right now, of course. But if we go to the home screen, we can see our awesome icon right here. And yeah, so it's up and running, and we have installed the Firebase SDK. We got our Google Service P list. We have created our project in the Firebase console. And this is where we're going to be spending quite a bit of time throughout the next lessons. And I know we didn't do a whole lot of Firebase Firestore specific stuff in this lesson. This was just to get our project up and running and in preparation for our next lessons. In the next lesson, we are going to talk about at a high level exactly what is Firestore and why you should use it. And yeah, so it's going to be awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.